instruction and organized ensembles, I spent much of my youth making music. Though awkward at the keyboard, I took lessons for several years from a piano teacher whose tutelage, grounded in European masters from Bach to Schumann, guided me through the variety and challenge of a pianistic zone that my technique could negotiate, more or less. As a saxophonist in bands and orchestras, too, I played pieces ranging from marches and dance music to classical overtures and tone poems. During those years, I also sang in school choruses and a church choir, groups where singers, sopranos aside, learn the satisfactions of making harmony. At the same time, thanks to the phonograph, I learned that jazz was the music I was most drawn to hear and to perform. Playing sax for several years with friends in a jazz-based quintet opened the door for me to the art of improvising. And thanks to a diligent leader who fashioned an infrastructure for us, we played for dances and other functions for pay. In retrospect, it could be said that my youthful years were lived to a soundtrack of music from Bach to Brubeck, an aural spectrum rich in moments that could bring a tickle to the spine and a lump to the throat. I began college in 1953 with engineering in my sights to prepare for a life in the family's foundry business. But by the second year, stepping up my listening and finding plenty of music making on the University of Michigan campus, I discovered plenty to engage with, especially classical concert going. Soon my saxes, alto and tenor, were consigned to the closet, for Ann Arbor already had enough decent sax players to handle the work available. In those days, jazz music was verboten in the halls of the University School of Music. By my third year in college, I knew I was a musician at heart, if far from a skilled maker of music. So I looked into a transfer to the School of Music. I learned that the curricula most appealing to me were for budding composers and performers, neither of whose skills fit my capacities. That year found me accepting an invitation to conduct a group of friends in a choral competition, but the university offered no program in conducting. A course of study in music literature, history, and criticism was also described in the catalog. That approach struck a note appealing to a reader of books about the composers and the music that I was learning to love. But the program gave no hint of a postgraduate future, and with 3 siblings in the Crawford family to be schooled after me, that option wouldn't fly. Thus, the field of music education, training music teachers for elementary and high schools, proved to be my sole sensible option. That curriculum included 2 years of courses in both music history and music theory, plus participation in an ensemble, but little else that intrigued me. Nevertheless, I'd never been schooled in either of the core subjects required, and the music education program would lead to a job. So I applied to transfer from engineering to the School of Music and was accepted as a music education major. By the time I won a bachelor's degree in music ed, followed by a master's in music literature, history, and criticism in 1959, I had figured out that my future lay in a field called musicology, the scholarly and historical study of music. The Michigan Graduate School offered both human and institutional assets in that field that enabled me to find a course to a future that I never could have anticipated. Among the teachers in the University of Michigan's Rackham Graduate School were 2 scholars, both inveterate lovers of music, whose varied approaches left me with enough freedom to lead to an unorthodox path. Professor Hans T. David, German-born and educated, and known for his writings on the music of Johann Sebastian Bach, brought to his students a deep understanding of Western music history from the Renaissance through the time of Haydn and Mozart. In seminars, leading us through the workings of master composers, he preached that the quality of our musical knowledge would depend on our command of language, both oral and written. Professor David's English, not his mother tongue.